Wanted to make a very, very, very quick video about something that's been on my mind recently. Now, as you can see here, they're talking about the Federal Reserve and whether or not they are going to raise or lower interest rates. So, let me just turn this. This is May 1st, 2024, but let me go. In fact, let me go back. This was 13 days ago. This is 13 days. This is 6 days. Let me just see. What's the most recent thing? Federal Reserve is giving your money away and it could destroy more than your wallet. Yeah, that's 7 days ago. Education Department announces highest federal student loan interest rate in more than a decade. Really? And what's that? Let's see. The U.S. Department of Education announced Tuesday the interest rates on federal student loans for the 2024 to 2025 academic year. The interest rate on federal undergrad loans will be 6.53%, the highest rate in at least a decade. So I guess Biden hasn't really canceled all them student loans that y'all were talking about, huh? It says the May 8th auction put the high yield rate at 4.483. Yeah, the rates, which run from July 1st to June 30th of the following year, are based in part on the May auction of the 10-year Treasury note. Let me go back just a second. So it says federal student loan interest rate will rise to highest level in 12 years. That was 22 minutes ago. Federal Reserve Chair Powell expects inflation to fall. I'm glad he does, because I don't. So anyway, I'm not going to make this too long. I just wanted to say something about this. So it says Federal Reserve Chair Powell expects inflation to fall. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said he expects U.S. inflation to continue declining through 2024 as it did last year, though his confidence in that has fallen after prices rose more quickly than expected through the first quarter. And by the way, before I even start, one of the things you need to understand, the definition of inflation is an expansion of the money supply. Inflation does not mean prices go up. The government has told you that because they don't want to take the blame for expanding the money supply. There was a great cartoon that you can see on YouTube. It's called DuckTales Explains Inflation. So if you used to watch DuckTales, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. And in the video, the guy, Fenton Crackshell, I believe his name was, he invents a gun that can duplicate money. And basically it means that, you're printing money, right? And the gun starts duplicating money, and eventually there's so much money until all the prices go sky high, like in wherever the hell they lived. I think it was like Duckburg or something. But the bottom line is inflation means that the money supply has been expanded. It does not mean that prices go up. Prices go up because of the money supply being expanded, because it's all based on supply and demand. The reason why, we're not rich is because we don't have a lot of money. So there is a set amount of money out there, that's the supply, and then there's a demand for money based on our work. In order for us to get money, we have to go out and work. So that's basically us demanding money for us to have a job. Because without the money, we're not going to work at McDonald's 5 o'clock in the morning serving burgers. We're not doing it. We demand the money. They demand our service. So when we go in, we get the money. The Federal Reserve, however, because they've been printing money and because they've been handing out welfare checks, they have expanded the money supply. But the issue I see is that the only way to fight inflation is to actually raise interest rates. Now, everybody is sitting around waiting for interest rates to go down because they think that it's going to help the housing market, and people are desperate right now to buy a house. And, inflation is high, so all their food prices are high. Gas prices are high, partially because America declared sanctions on Russian oil, which was cheap when it was coming in. But the bottom line is we've driven the price of everything sky high. So rent is sky high, mortgages are sky high, gas is sky high, money is it's difficult to attain because a lot of these jobs aren't willing to pay you extra. So the bottom line is we've made it pretty miserable for people and we've increased their cost of living. Now, there's some people who are sitting back and waiting for the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates. I just don't think it's going to happen. And there's a simple reason why I don't think it's going to happen. In order for them to lower interest rates, they would have to have successfully defeated inflation. The problem is we don't know what the actual inflation number is because the government's obviously not going to tell you. And on top of that, they've already raised the rates high enough that it's paralyzed the mortgage market. And it's also high enough that it's paralyzed the car industry. The houses and the cars are the two most likely investments that the average American's going to make in their life. It's just that way. So the issue is, unless these interest rates are lowered, nobody really out there, unless they're rich, cash rich, nobody can afford no damn 8% mortgage when they're buying an overpriced house, which is like, $500,000-$600,000. Nobody can afford no 8-9%. And that's assuming they have excellent credit. If they don't have excellent credit, those, mortgage prices could be a lot higher. Same thing goes for cars. A lot of people can't buy these cars anymore. These cars used to be flying off the shelves, at 3%. But when they raise these interest rates and now you're looking at a 10 or 11, especially if you want to buy a used car, the used car interest rates are higher typically because they represent a higher risk. Most of these people are walking away. They can't afford it. And then on top of that, the insurance has gone up. So your insurance has gone up. Your gas prices are $4 a gallon, and it depends where you are, but the gas prices are high. The insurance prices are high. The car note's high. So a lot of people are basically not paying their bills and they're just walking away. So the people who are trying to save money, they're, oh man, when are these interest rates going down? I don't believe they're going down because the issue is, even if they raise the interest rates, the other problem that they don't talk about, and I haven't heard them say nothing about it, the other problem is credit. Credit is another problem. You see right here, I got to fold this because I don't want you seeing where I am. You see this right here? This is a credit card application from Citi. I'm not going to use this. In fact, I'm going to burn it. I'm going to burn it with so much other trash, right? So basically what I've noticed is, and you've probably noticed this too, they've been sending out, not the government, but the banks, they've been sending out a lot of these. And these things are offering you a new credit card. They call this the Simplicity card. They're offering you a new credit card that has 0% intro rates for 18 months, right? Now, this is the Citi card. So just look at that. That's the Citi card. So I got this in the mail. They want me to open up another card. As you know, I've already opened up two. I opened up a Wells Fargo Autograph, which I used to finance my vacation interest-free. Business class on ANA, business class on KLM, Bali and Singapore, right? So if you're still tuned in, you'll be watching those videos later. So I take advantage of these by using them to finance vacations. And then I just pay it back leisurely. And as long as you pay them back before the 18th month, you pay 0% interest. So I borrow $10,000, I pay you back $10,000. And then the beautiful thing about it, because some people might be like, oh, yeah, well, I just pay cash and I just hand them cash. Well, guess what, stupid? If you borrowed $10,000 using one of these cards and you get the rewards for it, the rewards points alone are, in that amount of money, they're worth close to $600. You can take that $600, just like I did, and you can repay the $10,000 balance. So that means that you go from owing $10,000 down to owing $9,400 if you had $600 worth of rewards. Had you paid it in cash, you get absolutely nothing, and your cash has been basically devalued. So this is the Citi card. I just want you to look at that. That's the Citi card that they offered me, right? I got this in the mail yesterday. Okay, so that's the Citi card, the Citi card Simplicity. Then I come to my mailbox today, and look what they got waiting for me. This is Bank of America. Same bullshit. 0% interest rate, 18 months, or 18 billing cycles, no annual fee, no penalty, APR. And they're basically saying as long as you pay them back, you can do a balance transfer, which means you transfer the balance from another card to this card, or you can make purchases on this card and not have to pay it back for 18 months, right? Okay, so this is the Bank of America, what? So I got two of these things just far, right? Then come to my mailbox at the same time, Discover, same thing, no annual fee, pre-qualified intro APR 0%. So I got, in this week, I got 5 of these. 2 of them I tore up and threw out, and I'm gonna burn these 3 because I don't need them. So why did I make this video? Personally, it's starting to feel a lot like 2007, 2008 to me. During 2007 through 2008, I was selling houses full time. And I was also, at that time, I was, working through school and everything. And I had driven up my credit card debt while I was finishing up school. And I think I've told this story to you. You probably heard the story. I fucked up my credit real bad. Like, my credit was 500. Discover sued me for $5,000 because I basically defaulted on it. And they when I came home, on my door, there was one of those court order things right on my door saying that I was being sued by Discover. $5,000, right? So what ended up happening was they started garnishing my wages. And eventually what I did was I actually took out a larger loan, and I used it to pay off and consolidate my credit cards and whatnot. Because what I needed to do was I needed to push back the money I owed just long enough for me to start working and to start making a salary. So, I've told this story before when I was talking about, improving your credit. I had a 500 FICO score. Today I have an 850. I'm sitting on my credit score out there every time I get on them 22-inch wheels on that Cadillac. What's that song? What's that song? How's it go? It says, just bought a Cadillac. So, wait, what's that song? How do you, that's my favorite lyrics. But anyway, wait, so fuck them niggas, what they gonna do? Hating on a player cause my lack skating 22s. When I pull up, I'ma park right in the front. But anyway, I'm diverging. But anyway, bottom line is, I went from 500 to 850. And the only way you can do that is by actually playing the credit card game. But you have to pay off your balances. You cannot run revolving balances. I pay off my balance every single night. And in addition to that, you have to, you got to make zero late payments. You have to pretty much try to maintain about $50,000 worth of available credit. But I think they'll allow you to get to an 850 if you only have like 25,000. So you don't necessarily have to have 50,000 in available credit, but it helps. The more available credit you have, the more it helps your score for the most part. But do you really need an 850? And the answer is kind of no. Once you pass like 780, it really doesn't matter anymore. You're basically excellent. And again, I've already showed you how I use my credit cards. When I like want to do vacations, obviously, I get online with my travel agent and I pay them using the credit card and everything. But I'm looking for deals just like this 0% interest, all these little deals. I'm looking for these deals. And when you get these things, if you treat them properly and you use them right, if you get these things and you treat them properly, you use these things right, not only can it help you build your credit, but it can also help you get things that you want. And on top of that, as long as you're paying it back and you're paying all the money back, it can help set you up later down the road. Now, here's the thing, and this because I said I wasn't going to be long, so I'm looking at the 14-minute mark right now. But here's the thing. I absolutely now Powell might try to prove me wrong, and he might try to lower the interest rate like a small amount, like 0.05 or 0.02 or something like that. But he ain't going to go a whole digit. He's not going to lower it from like 4 to 3. It's not going to happen. And America's already proven we're addicted to interest rates when they're lower than 3. When interest is lower than 3, we're buying up everything with our credit, our cars, houses, everything, right? The thing about it that I believe he can't lower interest rates. He can't. The national debt is approaching 35 trillion. The interest on the national debt will be like $1.1 trillion soon, if it isn't already. And next year, the interest on the national debt is going to be so big that it's actually going to be a line item that everybody sees and you can't ignore. So the problem that he has ultimately is he has to keep interest rates high enough to try to stop us from spending. But he can't raise them so high that it makes us default on the national debt, because that $1.1 trillion, that's basically your minimum monthly payment on your credit card. That's basically what America's doing. It's paying the minimum monthly amount on its credit card and trying to borrow money from the Chinese. But I don't think that he can lower interest rates. If he lowers interest rates at this point, we'll have a reverse mortgage crash in housing. We'll have a reverse mortgage crash in housing. Because if you lower interest rates now, then that means that the demand right now for single family houses will go even higher, because now you'll have more corporations and you'll have more people competing for them. So he can't lower interest rates. Now, even though I'm sure they would love to do it for cars and stuff like that, the chances are they're not going to do it even for that. The only way I see them possibly lowering interest rates is if we have another all-out catastrophe. And I don't see that coming, but then again, you wouldn't see it coming. You remember COVID? Nobody saw COVID coming. When COVID hit, my interest rate on my houses was higher than 4%. During COVID, when they lowered interest rates to 3%, I refinanced down and I took years off my mortgages. I lopped years off of my properties, right? I don't see that happening again. And most of the people who have property are sitting on 3%, and they're never going to sell, because their houses, even if they're, falling apart or dilapidated, they can always repair them, but their houses are assets. They're not going to ever sell. Biden's administration is desperate to placate and please these leftist lunatics. So at some point he was offering $10,000. If you had more than one house, he was offering you $10,000 to sell it, which is the stupidest shit you could ever do. $10,000 is nothing. If he offered you maybe $100,000, maybe it would be worth it. But then you'd have to ask, where's this money coming from? Which means the taxpayer is going to end up fronting it, right? Just like the $10,000. All the Biden administration has done is hand out tax credits for stuff that it's not supposed to be handing out tax credits for. That's basically what they've done. Bidenomics is a joke, and we already know that. But I don't see them lowering interest rates. I don't see it possible unless there's a catastrophe. If there's a catastrophe, maybe. And what'll happen is the government would adopt another policy of quantitative easing. I just don't see that happening. But the thing that I made this video for was basically to show these credit card things, these applications, and to basically say that as long as Americans constantly have access to cheap credit, inflation can't go down. Inflation is expansion of the money supply, but when that definition was coined, credit cards didn't exist. Credit cards are also expansion of the money supply. I'll give you a perfect example. If I walk into Micro Center right now with one of these credit cards, I can empty one of their shelves of all of the video cards that I want. Each one is $2,000. Well, one of my cards is worth $20,000. I can buy up all of their cards. If they've got 10, I can buy all 10. So what is that? That means that I can hack into their supply with higher than usual demand. And they can't stop me because I'm just going to buy up all the shit. So the thing about it is, the only way I'd be able to get away with that is on a credit card. I would not be able to do that with cash unless I actually had that much cash on me. And then it wouldn't make sense. Doing it on credit card allows me to buy that stuff and then to sell it on eBay and to possibly make a little bit more money, justifying the effort that I went through to buy it in the first place. Credit is the problem. Now, I'm making use of my credit, going on fancy vacations and having fun and, buying cool cars and stuff. But a lot of other people are using their credits buying groceries, food, appliances, and stuff like that. So the issue is they can't fight inflation unless they raise interest rates in order to reduce our credit card spending, because that's ultimately what raising interest rates does. They've paralyzed the housing market. They've paralyzed the automobile market. And the only thing left is these credit cards. So the only way to stop me and to stop other people from getting these credit cards and spending even deeper on credit cards than they already have is to raise interest rates. And I guess that's my thesis. I believe the Federal Reserve is ultimately going to have no choice but to raise interest rates even more. So you could tell me what you think about that, but that's my little tinfoil Tuesday edition right there. So you can tell me what you think, but that's what I think is happening.